it's, you know, an aspirational RSVP. So this is why the recording is so important, is because people have told me like, oh, I RSVP so that way I can get a link to a recording later. So hopefully there's at least a long tail about like people being able to watch this remotely afterwards.
And it will be on YouTube, or am I right?
Yes, we'll be posting it on YouTube too. And typically what I do is I send out an email to.
Good to let people in? Or do you need to set? Okay,
yes,
I'm gonna
perfectly fine. Yeah.
Let people in. All right.
Thanks, Sam.
See you on the other side.
Hi everyone, welcome. We're so excited to have you here. While folks are joining, feel free to introduce yourself. I'm always interested in where folks are joining from. So tell us, you know, a little bit about who you are, where you're located. Good morning to all of our friends on the West Coast. Good evening to all of our friends in Europe. I always feel awkward, so I'll go first. Oops, I forgot to put what I do. I'm a UX researcher. Hi, I'm Michelle. I'm in the Bay Area, SF.
I'll go next. I'm Sam. I'm in Seattle, and I am a designer at heart, but now a founder of an AI startup.
Woohoo! Also, spoiler alert, Sam is going to be our next speaker next month, so can't wait to hear more. Awesome. Hey, Tim, Director of UX in Virginia. Wow, awesome. So excited for you to join us. Happy, I guess it's lunchtime there. Liz in New York too.
Yeah, nice to meet you all. And I'm actually really curious to know your opinions about sleep paralysis and how that kind of like is kind of like combined with dreams. I don't know. I have like these vivid dreams all the time, and I've been dealing with a lot of sleep paralysis, and I feel a lot of energies around me. It's pretty scary. So I just want to know like your own opinions about why this is happening, and like if I can like maybe help into lucid dreaming from like sleep paralysis or anything. I'm done speaking. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for that. Yeah, please feel free to mute yourselves and feel free to put those questions in chat. I'm not sure if any of us are quite experts in that, but we do have a Q&A portion towards the end. Yeah, feel free to join, mute yourself, turn off your video as well, unless you accidentally want to be on that recording that we are making. It's so nice to meet so many folks. We have some people from Berkeley. Oh, fantastic. Hari, we're so excited to have you. Alessandro, fantastic. Quite a few folks from the West Coast as well as the East Coast. So cool to see you all this morning. Thank you for joining. Excited to see folks from the accessibility community too. This is something that, you know, I'm really passionate about, but I'm really excited that we have a fantastic guest speaker today to share her practice.
I just had to laugh. They're like unpicking this documentary on Farrell versus Allen. I don't know if you followed it, from Woody Allen. And they're talking about like how the filmmakers are, you know, failing to look at. Yeah, it's an interesting article. I can recommend it.
Awesome.
Anyway,
thank you so much.
They mentioned here like
yes, and
braver embedded filmmakers would drill down into the historical truth, how historical truth can change over time, and how two people can look at one image and see very different things. Was Ellen's tendency to follow Dylan anxiously around the playground creepy, as one of Farrah's friends alleges, or was it the behavior of a famously neurotic man experiencing fatherhood for the first time? Your brother. Anxiously following. I don't know around.
Totally, yeah.
Fantastic.
Anyway.
apologies if I drop in and out, but big thanks to Sam for helping us with the actual tech side of this. And then I'll hand it over to but yes, it's so nice to meet so many folks, and thank you for joining and introducing yourselves, and nice to hear your voices too. But I'm going to invite you to mute yourselves and turn off your camera to save people like me with poor Wi-Fi connection and also our recording. So we're excited to have you here, and maybe we'll have some time at the end too if people want to stay on just a little bit. Welcome, Aparna. Ooh, rainy LA. Yes, I saw LA is getting rain. We need it. Woohoo. Fantastic. Jesse from the Netherlands. Wow, UX design. So it looks like we have a lot of UX design and product design folks. So that is fantastic to see, and we're so excited to have you. I'm just going to go ahead and get started, and as more people come, so be it. And I would like to just kind of give a reminder, just please turn off your video and mute yourself. We are so excited to have you here. But like I mentioned, my internet is not amazing. So for people like me, just turn off your video and mute yourself. And we're also recording this, but put your comments in chat. We can see them, and we will also try to respond to questions there. And as we go through this talk as well, we can also see those questions and we'll answer them there. Fantastic. So I'm going to get started. But hello, welcome everyone. We are so excited to have you. Thank you for joining. Good morning, good evening, good day. I don't know any other time of the day. Welcome to the Machine Learning and User Experience Meetup. I am your host, Michelle. So I'm going to do a quick introduction of the MLUX Meetup, then I'm going to turn it over to our fantastic guest speaker and case study. Corinne, who's going to talk about AI design and accessibility. She's based out of Italy, which I think is just so fantastic because, you know, during normal times, we wouldn't normally be able to have an event. So thank you for joining us in your evening and sharing your knowledge and expertise in this case study with us. Very quickly, for any folks who are new to MLUX, wanted to just give a brief background. So hi, I'm Michelle. I'm the organizer and founder. I just want to give a shout out, like while I might be the only one speaking right now, I actually have a ton of other folks who help volunteer and help run these events. And so thank you to all of our volunteers who help make this possible. I also kind of wanted to give a little bit of background for anyone who's just like, machine learning, UX, sounds cool, but like, what is that? So how I like to think about it is, how do we use data to inform and drive UX design decisions, but also how do we design better AI experiences, letting users know kind of what's happening in the data, feeling like they have control of the system. And, you know, I am simplifying it to just 2 words here, but I want to call out, for those of you who don't know, UX is a lot more than like pixels on a page and like visual design. I would say I'm a UX, but you could see my visual design is black and white. Like this is not colorful visuals. It's all about the experience and how do we actually convey the meaning behind that, including about, the experience of our AI and machine learning technologies. And that can take a lot of forms from UX research, copywriting, so much more. As well as like from the data side, I am simplifying machine learning, AI, data analysis, stats, all into that data. But when these 2 disciplines come together, they make amazing experiences like this. So this is one of my favorites, which is the Pinterest visual search. But I always use this as kind of like an example of like a starting point of like, hey, as you scroll through, imagine not needing to go back up and retype in exactly what you're looking for, but instead you could just receive the search by clicking on the lower right-hand corner. So amazing. So we're passionate about these case studies and so much more. If you're interested in learning more, we've written it up too, bit.ly/ what is MLUX? So you can take a look at our overall article. So that's kind of like how we think about these 2 coming together. But our goal as a meetup is really to create a collaborative environment for UX, data science, and everyone in between, and to really organize that community that helps foster cooperation, creativity, and learning. Because it's not going to be like one company or one team that solves this problem. There's so many different areas of applications as we move forward to more AI-driven futures. And so how do we talk about those best practices through tech talks, through case studies, through panels? And today is a great example of that. So, like I mentioned too, we are a meetup, but we're also a YouTube channel, I don't know, Twitter, LinkedIn company. There's a lot of ways. Just feel free to follow us. We're around. And so I'll send this out as well afterwards. But I will also call out for anyone who is new. We do record our talks, including this one today. So we will be posting them onto our YouTube channel. And so thank you so much for all the folks who have spoken before in the past too. And you can watch previous events there. And I just wanted to call out that MLUX can't happen without you. And this is like a huge shout out to Corinne for speaking today, Sam for actually hosting us with Zoom. Sam's going to be our guest speaker next month as well, and he has a fantastic meetup coming up in a week. But really, this meetup is run, as you could tell when you registered, all the tickets are free because of the kindness of our volunteers and community. And so thank you so much to everyone who has helped make this possible. And if you do have a really cool talk, like Corinne, actually, I believe you reached out to me twice, like once on LinkedIn and I didn't see it. And then you finally emailed me and was all like, no, seriously, I have a cool talk. And then we met and I was like, oh, this is a cool talk. So like, this is kind of like how these events actually happen, is because of our fantastic community members who are like, I have something to share and I really want to share it. And so please always feel free to reach out to us. The team is humans@mluxsf.com. We didn't have the foresight that we would be outside of SF, and also we're the humans part of the MLUX. So now you can remember that. So big thanks to all the folks who helped make this possible. And the last thing I'll mention before we jump into the case study is that we're a part of the larger Feminist AI nonprofit. And so if you like free events that help make the future of AI accessible for everyone, consider supporting us on GoFundMe, or just like check out Feminist AI. I do a lot of free tutorials on AI for them, but one of our goals is to actually, share kind of best practices and techniques like this too, to get more people into the field of AI from different backgrounds. So, okay, that's all that I have for the welcome, but I'm going to turn it over to you, Corinne, and just like, hello, welcome. Thank you for sharing your case study with us. We're so excited to have you.
Hi, thank you, Michelle. And hi, everyone. So I'm going to share my screen. Okay, I think that you can see it right now, right?
Yes, we can.
Perfect. So I will talk really, really slow in compare with you, Michelle. But okay, I'm Corinne Schillizzi from Italy, and I am a UX user experience designer at Tangity, that is a network made of designers of entity data group. And I will talk today about AIDA, that stands for Artificial Intelligence Design for Autism, with a particular focus on how the design team collaborated with the AI team. So, first of all, AIDA is a system that aims to help children on the spectrum and their caregivers to communicate effectively for improving the educational path by using artificial intelligence. So what was the beginning of this project? Actually, the beginning of this project was something like, okay, I ended my master's degree thesis. I really like artificial intelligence. I really like design. So when I started working in Tangity, I asked to my colleagues, can our human-centered approach... Sorry? Okay, I'll go on. So I asked, can our human-centered approach support design AI? And through this question was related to the fact that usually when it comes to AI, there is a strong focus on artificial intelligence models and AI constraints rather on human needs and users' needs. So what if we change this perspective? What if we focus, sorry, I'm trying to change the slide. What if we focus on not testing a model on people, but creating it from people and not solving produced ethical problems, but start a project by preventing them? In order to do so, we started working collaboratively among different competencies. So we involved at the early stage of the project AI experts, designers, and developers. So this is our journey. This is our AI journey and design journey. And as you can see here, it is really interlaced because we wanted actually to have key moments in which the both groups have the possibility to communicate, to share information, the user research information, but also in orange, you can see that there are actually some collaborative activities, like the dataset definition that is usually an AI activity. So as I said, we started by user research because we wanted to start by humans. We wanted to understand the field, the autism field. So we started interviewing educators, parents, therapists, and we made some co-discovery workshops and co-defining workshops. Actually, we made also some participant observations, as you can see in the picture. It was really tough in the initial moment because we had to be in touch with children on the spectrum, but educators and therapists helped us in this difficult aspect by introducing us to them. So through these activities, we were able to map the stakeholders, so not only the child needs, but also these stakeholders' needs. So the educators' point of view, parents and teachers' viewpoint, and which were their needs and their pain points. So thanks to this activity, we understood that there are different needs for these children. First of all, we understood that structure is mandatory in order to enable them doing daily activities. So because the more rigid is the kid, the more adaptable has to be the structure. Also, it is important to personalize tools and methods because each of them have different characteristics and needs, sensorial needs, communication needs. This is the reason why an educator told us that they create toys by scratch using waste materials. And another important aspect, particularly for parents, obviously, is the independency aspect. They try to educate them for independency, and in doing so, they help them in doing daily activities in order to enable them to do so autonomously, because these daily activities and normal daily activities could cause stress in autistic subjects. So why we focused on communication? We focus on communication because while there is no dependence between autism and children's general preferences and characteristics, there is a correlation among children characteristics and how they prefer to communicate. So we highlighted here that a flexible and low functioning child have different characteristics from a rigid and high functioning level child. This means that this enables us to create personas to understand which are the communication preferences for these different characteristics of these children. And in doing so, we were able also to understand and collect stories about the child and understand both teachers, parents, but also other caregivers' viewpoint about what is happening in this situation to Marco, in this journey to Marco. So we identified these needs, particularly, as I said, first, as I said previously, we focused not only in the child need, but also in caregivers' need that are day-to-day in touch with these children. First of all, sharing child knowledge is really important because since each of the stakeholders involved in this, in caring of the child have a different viewpoint about his needs, about his communication, and about with him that is affected by their perspective and their background knowledge and their and how they are in touch with him. So if they see the child in every day or not. Also, it is important to track possible causes of behavioral crisis, and it is also important, particularly for parents, to focus on independences. Okay, so what is the value of AI? The value of AI in this context is that it enables to create personalized education and treatment path, because each child or adult with autism has unique characteristics and needs. So it is not possible to use a one-size-fits-all approach to autism treatment. And so AI can help us identifying individual capabilities and preferences to adapt the educational path to their characteristics and needs. So AIDA is a system for this reason, because we want to provide suggestions about child needs and preferences in order to prevent crisis. And to achieve such results, we start collaborating really closely with the AI group. So we shared the user research results. And in doing so, we understood that we needed a recommender system, and particularly that could be adaptable to the child characteristics and needs according to their functioning level and flexibility level. So we identified these classes. But in this point, we understood that in order to go on with our concept, we needed a co-design tool. So we created together, the AI team and design team, the evolution map. The evolution map is a tool that enables to understand how the machine should evolve over time. So the system, the first step of the evolution map is the system knowledge map. So in here we can map the characteristics that are key features for the model. The second step is the interaction part that you can feel by using the customer journey. And so you can map here the triggering event, what is the system output and the user feedback, so and how the machine collects such feedback. And finally, you can update what the system knows about the characteristics and key features. So you can use this map through different stages in order to map how the machine should evolve over time. But let's see it in practice. In the AIDA experience, we used the evolution map in this way. We have mapped in here the information about the child, about Marco, by using the personas, and we have mapped some recommendations. But while in this stage, by using the customer journey, we have mapped the event, like Marco find out that his parents' car is broken, the recommendation, so what the machine suggests to the user to do, and the user feedback, so if that action was really effective or not. This feedback should enable the machine to be more effective and accurate in next time recommendations. So as you can see here, these are the key features that we highlighted that will enable us to understand how the machine should use users' feedback. So the evolution map allows the group to create a shared language for choosing variables and models. Indeed, we understood that after some time of use from the users, we should update single child communication need by using users' feedback in order to provide more customized recommendation. In order to collect this data that we've mapped during the user research, but particularly by using the evolution map, the group defined the set of key features useful for training the model. So for doing so, we designed the prop, an app for collecting this data in order to train the machine through this data. So are we missing something? Actually, in doing the research, but also in the design stage of the app, we are considering human biases. So we focused on avoiding to reproduce human biases into the machine by caring about these aspects. So bringing different perspectives about the child, because actually, as I said previously, each caregiver and parents have a different perspective about his needs and his communication characteristics. So it is important to track this perspective in order to avoid to affect the machine knowledge by through this perspective. Also, it is important to, during the early stage of the process, so during the user research, to avoid to reproduce our research, our biases as researchers. So we collected information through open-ended questions and collected stories in particular. Also, we are considering introducing thresholds to update and customize recommendations according to users' feedback, as we saw in the evolution map. So, which are our next steps? As I said in our introduction of the journey, we have different stages. We are now in the data collection stage because we have developed the app, and our next steps are once we collect this data, we will develop the model and we will test the model, and we will then be able to refine the concept. This journey, as you can see here, is really is not so linear, because actually we are reworking on our initial concept, and we are continuously sharing our thoughts between the two teams, and we are now trying to collect data starting by users. So we are not using an existing dataset, but we are building it starting by user research. So coming back to our first question, can our human-centered approach support design AI? Well, actually, it can be done. This is an animation, but it is not working right now. So how it is possible? It is possible by a good collaboration, because we think that a good collaboration starts from the very beginning. As we saw, our journey is built to enable both groups to share information about the user research, but also to consider AI constraints in the concept stage. We also understood that it is important to have shared tools, to have a shared vision, so to understand and share together which is the goal that we want to achieve. And sorry, okay, I can change the slide. Okay. Finally, it is important to feed the AI system with the design insight. So it is important to start from user research in order to understand which are the input data important to reach a specific output that is defined through the user research stage. But most importantly, autism reminded us that different perspectives should be respected and valued. So it is true that we are caring about biases in order to avoid caregivers' biases into the machine, but it is also an important thing to value this perspective. So both caregivers and the child perspective. So I think that I was faster than I thought, but this enabled us maybe to have more questions right now. And I want to say just one thing, that, as I said, we are caring about building the application to collaborate with different realities in which we can provide our solutions. So our idea, as I said in here, we are trying to define a data set starting from the data collection step through by providing an app, AIDA app. So if you know someone is interested in collaborate in this project, maybe we can have a chat.
Yay, fantastic. By the way, for what it's worth, I've been live tweeting out some of the resources and screenshots. So if you are at all interested, you could check them out there. But I will take it over and we can move into the Q&A portion. So first off, I just wanted to say thank you so much for sharing your process. I think that's a big thing that I am personally passionate about, is how do teams work together on AI and design. I would love to maybe we could do 15 minutes of questions-ish, and if people want to hang out on the line and say hi, they still can afterwards. Does that sound okay? Yeah? Okay.
Absolutely.
So my question for you is, like, you've given us this amazing like journey, and like I love the key takeaway about collaborate often and share from the beginning, but what does it look like on a day-to-day as like a designer working with an AI team? Can you share a little bit about that?
Yes, sure. In my experience in working with the AI team, actually it is difficult if you don't have a starting point, a shared viewpoint on where you want to go. Once you have defined that aspect, it is really really simple. One thing that is important is also to have enough information about what do you want to achieve, because that will so once you have understood what must be the output, the machine output, it is simpler to define how you can reach that output. Just an example with AIDA, we made a brainstorming activity that I named and the group named input-output activity, because we brainstormed the output that we wanted for the recommender system to provide users, and starting from that output we were able to understand which were the important data in input for the machine. So actually it is important to understand that collaborating with AI experts, it's totally possible, and you can do that by have a little knowledge about how artificial intelligence work, but this is the main aspect. You have to share users' point of view in order to let each competence of the group to communicate the constraints, because if the AI team is not able to understand which is the goal, what you want to achieve for the user, it is too difficult for them to understand how to design the entire system. Also, in the experience of AIDA, I think that another aspect that it is important is to share and understand how to collect data, which are the interesting data for the specific output that you want. So also by using the input-output tool, you can understand the key features for the machine.
I just want to echo that is a great design activity, input, output, like you mentioned too, not needing to know exactly how the machine is processing these things, but still just having a tool to kind of communicate that. Also, apologies, I'm getting like pings that my Wi-Fi is unstable, so I hope you can still hear me. But one thing that I wanted to ask about is that feedback mechanism. And I see some questions in chat. Thank you, Hari and Tim, for providing some questions. Also, a big shout out to anyone who does have follow-up questions. Please put them in the chat. But can you tell us a little bit about like how, I love also that you're like, hey, already existing data sets don't work for us, like let's make our own data set, but who's also providing that feedback? Is that the caregiver? Is that the therapist? Can you tell us a little bit more about that? Is that the individual? How do they give feedback?
So are you asking if who is giving us feedback on the data, if that data are fine or not?
Yeah, this is a question from Hari, and thank you for clarifying in the chat. I'm not quite clear how the AI is getting feedback about a crisis. Is the caregiver noticing this? Is it the caregiver labeling like this is a crisis and inputting that information for the AI to provide solutions? Or is the AI picking it up on like behavioral crisis on other mechanisms? Like doing some type of like, oh, is it like a biometric, like galvanized skin response or something like that? Can you share a little bit more about what that feedback cycle actually looks like?
Yes, absolutely. The idea, as I said previously, it is a concept right now, the whole system. We only have developed the app, but in designing for feedback, for human feedback, we are considering to collect feedback from users, but we are considering also to collect enough information about the context in order to provide more effective recommendations. So since it is a system, we are considering to collect biometric data through a wearable device. We are considering to collect information about the sound that there is in the room. And because all of this information will let us understand if the environment is affecting and provoking that crisis. So we are considering both aspects, the context situation and the user's feedback, as you said, Hari, because as we know, the machine can always be wrong about the context. So it is important to use the human feedback in order to be more accurate next time, because since autism is a complex field, it is not so obvious that the first recommendation is fine for the user. So we actually need to use user feedback in order to be more accurate in next recommendations for also for similar children that are part of the class that we have mapped.
That's awesome. And also too, it raises a lot of like design questions for more than just this autism use case. It like for so many of our AI systems, when we're making personalized like feedback, like it's so important to think about how individuals are giving that feedback and everything too. So excited to hear as your team progresses down that journey. Thank you, Hari, for that question. I also wanted to remind folks, please do put your questions in chat. I did want to ask about, there is a question from Tim. So thank you, Tim, for asking this question. But could you provide a little bit more context around, like, you know, you talked about like, why is this AI opportunity, but could you?
Sorry, I lost you.
Do you also share a little bit more? How does this provide more than just like old-fashioned all?
Sorry, I'm not hearing you.
She was breaking up. I'll
all natural.
Yes.
I'm so sorry. So there's Tim's question, but can you provide like, how is this AI a unique value add?
Sorry, I lost one time you.
Oh, it's okay. I'm sorry. Can you share about how AI is a unique value add compared to normal, all natural intelligence?
Sure. Yes, the important aspect that AI can add in the system is that by using artificial intelligence, we are able to keep track of the context, but also we are able to collect enough information from different perspectives in order to provide customized recommendation. But also another aspect is that by using the system will be able to learn more and more about the child preferences. Yes, we will surely take into account users' feedback, so the human intelligence, but also it will be possible by keeping track of how the child answer to some input or another input of coming from the recommender system, and actually the AI system it is able to adapt the recommendation by collecting enough information about him. So also, one aspect that it is meaningful in using artificial intelligence is that we will be able to collect enough information about the child, not only by one user, but by different users, different stakeholders that have different perspective about the child. So by considering this, we will be able to provide recommendation according to the kind of interaction that the user have with the child, and provide maybe the most useful communication tool or the most useful communication activity that the educators or the therapist or the parent should use with the child and maybe in the future we will be able to use also the context to improve this recommendation.
Yes, that's such a great call out about like the power of AI or like a tracking system is being able to share that information more than just like word of mouth or maybe even a record chart or something like that too, in order to provide the best care or like help the individual. I also love that you're going back to these individuals, maybe they can identify or like give feedback to the system of like, hey, like that incident, like that, tag that as something. I wanted to also say thank you, Hari, for these great questions. And then I'll ask Rachel's question. Hari's is, I think, more of a comment of, I would love to see AI to sense oncoming crisis like meltdowns and provide, say, acupressure that can immediately serve as like calming mechanisms. Isolation is ideal, but also not public in public site or not possible in public sites. And like also how can there be like more tailored kind of treatments and everything too, I think is awesome.
Hari, please have a chat about this when you are able to do this.
Yeah, Hari, it sounds like you should totally email Corinne and just like follow up there. And I would be totally interested on any type of other feedback mechanisms. I'm just so excited about this type of work that you're doing and that you're sharing it. I think that's really important. And we're excited to have this as a venue space for that. On that note, so Rachel asked the question around like, this seems like a really great opportunity, an exploration about like UX and AI collaborating together. But how about like, what does this look like for Tangity, like the company that you work for? Is this like a full-time project? Is this a 10% project? Like how does that business actually work?
Yes, this is a non-profit project, and I proposed this project in the initial when I started working in Tangity. Actually, I only made the question about AI and design, how we can work and make AI work better by using a design approach. And through this question, it was created a team by designers and AI experts, and we chosen this topic together. So we want to go on in this project by keeping it not profit, and we are creating it by the 20% of time, in Tangity. So this group is composed by many competences that have their 20% of time inside of Tangity, but also entity data, that is the name of the entire company, and so we are collaborating in this, not in 100% of time, but in the 20% of time. And since we want to keep it no profit, is the reason why we want to share as much as possible with people that are interested in autism and want to collaborate in make it real.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And if you wouldn't mind, could you put your email again in the chat for anyone else who wants to contact you?
Absolutely. Yes.
While you're doing that, I'm going to ask our last question because clearly my Wi-Fi is telling me don't stay connected. So I want to be sure that I ask this. We have had a ton of folks come into this talk today from design, from data science, from AI, from accessibility. What is like one piece of like advice or takeaway that you want everyone to walk back and tell their team about this talk for their practice?
Yes. I will say that collaboration is totally what we have to keep in our next work, because this is the main aspect, not only with the AI team, but also with the stakeholders that will be the real users and real that can be affected by the solution. So the takeaway, I think, that is mostly to take into account as much as possible stakeholders' viewpoint and share it with your AI team in order to avoid reproducing human biases and in order to understand how the machine should evolve over time. So I absolutely tell you that it is also important to first of all share, and secondly to don't be shy to create different tools that can be useful for create something new inside of your entire team made by different competencies.
Fantastic. Collaboration is such a key takeaway. And I think so many teams, there's always people who are like, I don't make AI, or maybe I don't design, but like, that's okay. And like, even whatever background you bring to the table, you're still an expert in something, and together we can make awesome things. So thank you for sharing your thoughts and case study with us. We're so thrilled. Please put your email in the chat too. I've kind of captured
did some right now.
Some screen capture. Okay, I did some screenshots of like your talk about like key takeaways. Remember, we're going to put this up on our YouTube channel. The other thing that I wanted to give a shout out, big thank you to Sam, who is hosting this meeting on behalf of like R2AI. I think some of you actually found out about this talk through the talk that I gave at R2AI, but Sam, do you want to tell us about your awesome event coming up?
Yeah, hi everyone. So R2AI is basically a community of AI builders, and you can think of AI builders as any engineer, scientist, or product manager, and various stakeholders who are involved with building solutions for AI. And we run a series of events. I'm one of the organizers. And so, yeah, would love to see you attend. We have a talk coming up on March 10th with Patrick Hall. He's a principal scientist at BNH AI, which is a boutique law firm specializing in AI and analytics. It's really going to be a talk to attend if you're thinking about engineering and organizational processes that ensure responsible AI adoption. So follow the link at the top of this slide. You can check out the website at r2ai.org. So that's rsqrdai.org, and hope to see you there. Should be a great talk. And the next thing I want to just mention is that on April 6th, I think is the date, I will be swinging by to have a conversation with you lovely folks to talk all about data and how it sits at the intersection of ML and UX. I'm a founder at YLabs, and we're an AI observability company. For people that aren't familiar with observability, you can think of it as being the collection of statistics, performance data, metrics from all parts of an ML system, and in turn that system helps deliver actionable insights to stakeholders. And so I'm just going to give a primer on all things data. As designers, we have a world of data at our fingertips, but we might not know where to look to find it, how to access it, how to interpret it, understand whether it's of high quality, if there are any issues with it. Many of these problems are the same things that data scientists and ML engineers experience when working with data. So ultimately, both practices really start with the data. So hoping to shed some light on how to improve data literacies and why that's important to enable collaboration and drive innovation between design and data science teams. And so just trying to demystify the process a little bit and then show you some examples of how it relates to the work that we're doing at YLabs.
Yay, I'm personally so excited. Sam and I actually overlapped while we were both at Amazon. And Sam, I think I've told you this before, but I really enjoy your work and you do awesome work and I cannot wait to hear more about it. I have been following YLabs for a little bit, hence why I spoke at the Girls Meetup. So that's going to be in April. But I also just wanted to say thank you to all of you for attending. Thank you to Corinne for speaking. Thank you to Sam and R2AI for hosting like the Zoom portion of this. I really appreciate you stepping up for that. All of our volunteers who helped make this possible. The other thing that I wanted to say, and I wasn't quite sure how to fit this in, I wanted to thank August de los Reyes. He was a pioneer in accessibility in AI. I actually had the pleasure of talking to him when I first started this meetup, and for a long time we had talked about hosting a AI and accessibility MLUX, but unfortunately he has passed away because of COVID implications. So I just wanted to give an acknowledgement to all of the work that he has been able to do, not only for accessibility, but just for design in general. So thank you, August. Thank you, Corinne, for sharing like how you are approaching this. And I think it's so important to share that out and for sharing your email. And yeah, thank you to everyone for attending, no matter what time it is in the world for you. And we're excited to see you at a future event. So yeah, we could stop recording if we want and just keep the line open if you want to ask Corinne questions or anything like that too.
Thank you very much, Michelle.
Thanks, everyone.